Bam. There we are. What's up, everybody? Just me today. No Justin. Nobody else. Just me. But that's what Fridays with Addison are for. It's just Fridays with Addison, right? So welcome in, everybody, to another Friday live stream. So hopefully y'all are doing well. Hopefully you had a good week. Yeah, again, stalling, buying time until people start commenting. So if you're new here, drop a comment down below. It's just an AMA, ask whatever. If it's dynasty, redraft, anything you got, just drop it down in the comments below. Zach's in here. What's up, Zach? Cold Fusion, yo, what's up, Cold Fusion? Welcome in, guys. So we're just gonna be hanging out for the next hour and a half, something like that. So that's basically it. All right. Jared, should I move Jonathan Taylor for Jackson Smith and Jigba in a 2023 second? No. I would keep Jonathan Taylor. I think that second, maybe you don't get JSN in a first, but if you can turn that second into something better, it's probably going to end up have to be a player, some sort of a player that rides the gap between a first and a second, like a Christian Kirk or an Amari Cooper, or if you want like a running back version of that, maybe it's like Rashad White or Cam Akers or somebody more along that side. And if you get to that point, then I probably would move Jonathan Taylor. But I also see this as a good way to go up and buy JT for anybody else out there who might be interested to buy the dip on JT. Doing something like this, I think would be pretty good. Yeah, 24 second. Yeah, makes sense. But I mean, if you could turn that second into a first, doesn't even have to be 24. If it's a 2025 first, even a 2026 first, I'd be more inclined to take that deal as well. I'd sell Jonathan Taylor for JSN in a 25 or 26 first. Genji. What's up, Genji? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. We are just doing some AMA, just chilling on a Friday. Hopefully y'all's week went well. Maybe you're on lunch break right now. Just chilling. Brandon, what are your highest percentage players on Underdog? Fun fact for you. I don't play best ball. Why? No idea. Just don't. I did have money in this other app that I forget what it was called. I've since deleted it because it was promo money for referrals. So I got to play in like a bunch of leagues and stuff, bunch of best ball leagues at that point. And I won like probably like I turned $40 of promo money into like $100 or something like that. And then they wouldn't let me cash it out because I won it on promo money. So that's whatever. So I've never played Underdog. I've never played I haven't played like a DraftKings best ball, anything like that. I don't know why I don't play Underdog best ball. No idea why. It's gotten you through the dead period of the summer. Yeah. I totally get that. And I really couldn't tell you why I don't play best ball. It's not like I hate the format. It's not like I have no idea. I have no idea why. Best ball is a place for indecisive people to play fantasy. There you go. Rack up a portfolio, get exposure to as many players as you possibly can. So no matter what, then you're winning. There it is. Best ball. I also think best ball works well for dynasty people because obviously everybody loves to draft. Drafting is probably one of the best things about fantasy football. And so I think the problem is that when you're a dynasty person and you just love dynasty so much, but you still want to draft, your first inherent thought is to just join another startup. But coming with the startup means that you have to, control another league. That's one more league that you have to do waivers for every single week, set lineups for every single week, just do the every year management of it. And that if you start doing that more and more every single year, you start just accruing all these leagues, and then it becomes too much for you. You got to start leaving leagues and stuff. And it's just, I think that's one of the biggest problems in dynasty right now is people just join a bunch of leagues and then they can't control it. They don't give every single league the same amount of time. strictly because they would just want to draft again. They want to do another startup draft. And I think best ball really helps to fill that gap, fill the void of people who just want to draft, but you don't want the in season management of it. So instead of just joining a new dynasty league, just join a best ball and just draft for a couple hours. I think that's a good way to go about it. Zach's on his lunch break. Lunch breaks. It's noon Eastern time right now, so it's about that lunchtime. I've got my only redraft league draft this Sunday. Would you recommend using underdog ADP? I would recommend like underdog ADP is a little bit different than normal redraft because some people, prioritize more higher variance players or stacks or anything like that. Um, I would look at what platform your redraft league is on, if it's on ESPN or Yahoo or Sleeper or whatever, because then that really determines how the draft board more or less is going to go, especially if you're in a more home league with more casual players. They just kind of see the generic rankings and they go based on that. So it definitely can be an advantage to you if you have your own personal rankings, but then also know how the ADP works, that you can find players of value. But underdogs ADP is a pretty good source of how players are valued for this year because there's a lot of money at stake on it too. So yeah, I would use underdog. 4for4 has underdog ADP as a free tool. They can show it as a list or in a grid format, so you can use that too. And then compare that with what your platform's ADP looks like as well. AJ, what are your thoughts on trying to trade for injured players? Example with Jerry Jeudy, or players who are in a bad situation. Example with Jonathan Taylor. In general, I feel like trying to get a bargain is worth the risk. So for the bad situation players, that's absolutely something that I'm trying to buy into. I try to buy into players that we just view them lower than where we normally would, strictly because of the situation that they've been placed in. Nothing to do with the player themselves, their individual talent, their injury history, or anything else. It's all external to the player. I think of a guy, not just like Jonathan Taylor, but I think of a player like DK Metcalf. The only reason we hate DK Metcalf is because he scored fewer touchdowns last year than what his targets should have allowed. So he has positive regression coming for him that way. And then they drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba. Those are the only reasons why we don't like DK Metcalf. Nothing to do with the player, nothing to do with the talent, nothing within DK's actual, basically what he can control himself. None of that actually changed. So I like buying players like DK Metcalf, like Jonathan Taylor, other guys like that. Love buying them. Injured players, slightly yes and no. Jerry Jeudy, for example, I think if this opens up a buy window in Dynasty because of the hamstring injury, then I would like to buy. At the same time, it's going to hurt for 2023, especially when you're dealing with hamstring injuries, because these things tend to stick around longer into the season than generally we would like. Think of guys like Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, basically dealt with a hamstring injury all first half of last year, and then was dominant for the second half. But these things can kill players' seasons essentially, or a good portion of the season. So Jerry Jeudy specifically, yeah, he might be a good dynasty by now, but you got to keep in mind that it's from a dynasty perspective, the dynasty frame, and not like, oh, I can buy low on this guy right now, and then when he's healthy, comes back in like week 3, week 4, then Sean Clifford just got named as the backup quarterback behind Jordan Love. Penn State, baby. Penn State, Sean Clifford. Let's go. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I like buying low on the injured players as well too, but from a dynasty perspective, not so much thinking that they're going to be helpful whenever they come back from injury. Like J.K. Dobbins would have been a good example of that last year. You would have bought J.K. Dobbins because of the injury discount, knowing that he wasn't going to help you last year. Is essentially it. Cold Fusion, 12-man Dynasty League. Running backs always seem to go first in a rookie drafts. Have my draft tonight. Have the 1.08. Really need a running back. Would you recommend trying to grab a running back at that spot? Is this super flex or one quarterback? Let's see. Because that determines a lot. Super flex or one. So I'm going to assume super flex. Oh, it's been going for 12 years now, though. So It might be a one quarterback league if y'all didn't change. One quarterback. Okay, yeah. So in a one quarterback league, if you look at the ADP for it, you are past all of the basically what I'll call the top tier wide receivers of JSN, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, probably past Zay Flowers as well too. My camera's going in and out of focus. Whoa. Um, Bijan and Gibbs obviously are gone. So those are the top six essentially. So you're looking at Dalton Kincaid, Anthony Richardson's in there. And then you start looking at Devon A. Chain, Zach Charbonnet, Kendre Miller, guys like that. The way that I would go about it is I would just take best player available, regardless of the position. So assuming that Bijan, Gibbs, and then those 4 first round wide receivers are all gone, how I would rank the next set of players, I would go Dalton Kincaid, Anthony Richardson, Zach Charbonnet. If you have good quarterbacks, then I could see if you would just want to take Zach Charbonnet over Anthony Richardson. I would take Dalton Kincaid over both of them because I think that he's just better at a more premium position where you would need a guy with that kind of ceiling. But Zach Charbonnet would essentially be the first running back that you would be looking to draft there at the 1.08. And I think it fits. I would take Kincaid over them. Or you can just take 108, a rich 108. That's what Genji says. Yeah. Is Zach Charbonnet or Anthony Richardson? I'm assuming Dalton Kincaid would be gone. He'd probably go at 107. And then I would be fine with either Charbonnet or Anthony Richardson. Now, if Zay Flowers or Quentin Johnston are there at 108, I would take both of those guys in a heartbeat. If for some reason Charbonnet went above, Anthony Richardson went above, Kincaid already went, and like Zay Flowers falls to you at 108, then just take Zay Flowers. So there is that caveat as well too. Hopefully that helped answer your question. Do I draft Kincaid at 109 if he's available? I'm getting Gibbs at 102 and I already have Waller on my roster. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to also assume that this is one quarterback because you're getting Gibbs at 1.02. So if Kincaid is there at 1.09, he's absolutely best available at that point. Just as I think he's best available at 107. So if you get him at 1.09, awesome. Victor, Christian McCaffrey or Eckler in second pick. What is it? Eckler in 102? Oh, who would you take at the second spot between Christian McCaffrey or Eckler? Okay. So I would take Christian McCaffrey in redraft. He's my RB1, and I would take him at the 102. Although I might be more inclined to take a wide receiver. Like if you're assuming that Justin Jefferson's gone, if you want to take Tyreek or Jamar Chase, I would take a wide receiver over Christian McCaffrey at the 102 then too. But if you want to take the running back, if you're set on the running back, I would take Christian McCaffrey. Andrew, what's up, bro? First time making it into the live show. Love the content. Thank you for joining us. If you got any questions, drop it on down below. Glad that you were able to join. Let's see. I thought I was in Superflex, had the 103 and took Patty over Chase. Oh, and a startup dynasty. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. There's worse decisions that you could have made, but yeah, that stings. Know your league settings. That's the lesson that you learned in that one, and a lesson that you will not make, or a mistake that you will not make again. I was just thinking of using FFPC ADP and just ignore the tight end values. Yep, that also works as well. Basically drop the tight ends maybe around everybody but Kelsey, maybe around. That also works as well too. Peter, rebuilding one quarterback, half PPR, next move, all future picks and extra seconds. Nice. So one quarterback, you're solid with Richardson and Rodgers. You have Bijan, ETN. That's great. T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Elijah Moore. So it would be the wide receiver position is what needs addressed here the most, I think. If you can move, could you move ETN for a wide receiver? Let me look at ADP just so I don't give you an off base answer for what you could get for ETN. So according to ADP, ETN is in the range of the Debo's, Christian Watson's, Jordan Addison's, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk. So you could do that, trade ETN for another wide receiver. I'd probably go the Christian Watson route. It gives you a player that has upside, and not enough. Like if you go for like Terry McLaurin or Jordan Addison, like yes, they're great, but they're also very similar to Michael Pittman already, similar to what Elijah Moore could be if he does well in this Browns offense. There's not a lot of ceiling with those players. They're much more floor type players. So it kind of diversifies how you're scoring points or the potential of higher scoring points. Another option that you could do is ETN and a first, and that could bump you up into, like the Devonta Smith territory, the Stephon Diggs territory. Maybe it gets you in a Waddle and a Olave, depending on how the other person feels about ETN. So that could be a route that you could explore too. Take ETN in one of your firsts, ideally not an early first, if you have an idea of how they're all going to look at the end of the year. So ETN in one of the later firsts, bounce you up to another wide receiver too. That could work. And then you can move guys like Cortland Sutton, move them for a backup running back, or Jameson Williams for a running back, like a Jameson for Antonio Gibson in a second or something like that. Antonio Gibson in a third. All these kind of things that you could do to then shift your wide receivers back over to the running back position once you move ETN over to the wide receiver position. Those would be the moves that I'd be looking to make. Where was that? Here for the memes. What's up, dude? Happy Friday. Welcome back in. It was his third week in a row already. No questions, just saying what's up, Jets. Welcome back in, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Glad to have you in here. For those of you that don't know, Here for the Memes has been here for the past couple of weeks. We helped him with his rookie draft. He was basically not on the clock at that point, but he was drafting in the middle of his draft, and we helped him with his rookie draft. Killed it with Marvin Mims in the third. Luke Musgrave as well too later, after trading Zeke for Anthony Richardson in a one quarterback league. Dude's been killing it. So appreciate you back in here, and thank you for the $5 super chat. Scrolling back up, I jumped on the hype train for Detroit and that offense going into 2023. Are we over the skis at the moment? JMO not there. Rookie tight end outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the run game. Do they seem really thin at talent there? There is definitely, we could go a little too hard on Detroit in terms of loving them a little bit too much. But if you have the primary assets of that team, if you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, even David Montgomery really to an extent as well, I don't think you're going to be upset. Sam Laporta could be a good option. In Dynasty, he's a fantastic option. Redraft, he's intriguing as a late round dart to just kind of see what happens in the first couple of weeks without Jameson Williams and how his usage looks too. So I think if you have the primary players, you're going to be really happy and you're going to, be set. I think you're just going to be really good. Spoiler alert, I'm making a video on who are some of my dark horse candidates to finish as the number one overall at their position. So, geez, my camera. But so dark horse candidates to finish as the RB1 this year, dark horse candidates to finish as the wide receiver one. Spoiler alert, Amon-Ra St. Brown is in that video. So maybe I'm a little bit too hard on them or love them a little bit too much, but I am drinking the Kool-Aid for sure. So you're not alone. Not alone. Sean Clifford over Will Levis. I still want to know how our team would have done had we kept Will Levis and he not went over to Kentucky. I would love to know what that alternate universe looks like for Penn State had James Franklin decided to go with Will Levis and not Sean Clifford. It's like one of the what if situations as a Penn State fan. Like it's up there with like, what if they didn't put 2 seconds back on the clock in the Michigan game in 2004, 2003? What if we had beat Ohio State in 2017? things like that, like the what if situations. What if James Franklin chose Will Levis and not Sean Clifford? What would have happened? Mike, 12 team, one quarterback, start 8. Give London ETN and a first, get CD Lamb. Oof. Start 8 helps to emphasize CD Lamb a little bit more. I think that's a little too much. London ETN and a first, I think that's a little bit too much. If it was a second, I'm in. If it's a second, I'm in. I'll just go pay up and get CD Lamb. If it's a first, I can't do it. I can't do it with the first. A little too much. CMC or Jamar redraft to the 102. I would go Jamar, but I don't fault anybody for going Christian McCaffrey either. The primary and what's unfortunate, honestly, for Christian McCaffrey is the reason why I'm taking Jamar is because of the running backs that you have the ability to draft later on. So there's a lot of good running backs that make it to you at the 2-3 turn, a lot of good running backs that are still there at the 3-4 turn. You can get James Conner in like maybe at the 5-6 turn. There's just other running backs that you can take because people are fading the running back position so hard in redraft this year that locking down that elite wide receiver one spot, I think just makes much more sense in the first round than locking in Christian McCaffrey. Because ultimately, when I've done like mock drafts or redraft this year from that early spot, and I had the decision between CMC and elite wide receiver, and I take CMC, I end up not liking my team all that much because I've gone CMC. Then I got Aaron Jones at the 3-4 turn. And my wide receivers end up being like T. Higgins and Jerry Judy. And I get like Hollywood or Christian Kirk or somebody like that. Whereas if you look at the teams, whenever you draft an elite wide receiver, you get Jamar Chase. And then maybe you get Tony Pollard at the 2-3 turn or Derrick Henry at the 2-3 turn. And then you get Aaron Jones at the 3-4 turn. And then James Conner later than that. Like it just, those teams end up looking so much nicer to me, assuming that that's how your drafts go. So, yeah, and that's really the only reason. It's not just because I prefer him over CMC. I feel like in a vacuum in a normal year, you would take CMC, but it's just the way the ADP's fallen this year is weird that I'm not taking that running back early. Earlier said you'd accept JSN in a first for JT, but would you trade away JSN in a first for JT? Trying to be reasonable on my trade demands. Yes. Yes, I would. I think this is a good trade on both sides. So I like JSN. Essentially, especially if that's a late 24 first, or 25 first, I would take that for Jonathan Taylor. But I would also use that to buy Jonathan Taylor as a discounted price, or maybe not ultimately discounted, but like 90 cents on the dollar essentially is 2 firsts. One of them ends up being late, or one of them's 2 years down the road. For Jonathan Taylor, I think that works out really well. And then either he stays in Indianapolis and he gets run into the ground because they're not going to pay him, and he gets just a ton of workload, then that's going to be good. Or he gets traded and signed to an extension. Like if he goes to Miami with all this Miami talk and stuff that they're offering trades, how do we not love Jonathan Taylor and put him back in that top 5 category for 2023 and top 3 in Dynasty if he's in Miami and he signs a long-term like 3-year deal with them for like 3 for 40 or something like that? How do you not put Jonathan Taylor automatically back up into the top 3? He just gains back all the value that he's lost over the past couple of weeks. And JSN in a first, especially a late first, would look ridiculous at that point. So it's a win-win, I think, on both sides. Took Mims 204 in a rookie draft. That seems high, but I like it. It just seems high. Luke Musgrave 301 also seems high, but I also like it. At a certain point, you just got to throw out ADP and you just got to take your guys. Richardson at 201 exchange for Zeke. Yeah. You keep bragging about that. Hold on a second, Kenny. I've had this like really mild cold all week, and it's really annoying. So if I sound weird, that's why. Kenny, all right. Full PPR, which start do you prefer? Chase, Waddle, or Olave, Gibbs, or CMC, Waddle, Olave, Smith? Um, man, that's a yeah. See, this is I prefer Chase, Waddle, and Gibbs. I would take Waddle over Olave, and I prefer Chase, Waddle, Gibbs over CMC, Waddle, Smith. Because you lock down those wide receiver one, wide receiver two spots. You have Jameer Gibbs, and then you get maybe you get Aaron Jones after that. Maybe you get James Conner after that. You could fill in that RB2 spot with guy. You can even draft like David Montgomery and have him as a constant producer for you. Well, I guess you have Jameer Gibbs. So David Montgomery's probably not a good example, but you could draft, some sort of like a good RB2, like a Damian Pierce. Just draft Damian Pierce to pair with Jameer Gibbs, and you're fine. Draft Cam Akers, draft Alexander Madison. Like there's other running backs in this running back dead zone this year that you can fill in. That I prefer to do that and just have my wide receivers locked down. Because if those running backs hit, then you're good. I prefer to have if those running backs hit than if those wide receivers hit. It's essentially how it would go. So I prefer Chase, Waddle, Gibbs as your start. Jeff, 12 team, half PBR start 10, trade Dobbins for an early to mid first. Yeah, absolutely. Right now. Genji agrees. Right now. Right now. Do it right now. Hopefully you did it whenever you asked that question and Genji said yes. That was 7 minutes ago. Yes. Second pick in the league is half PPR. I would take Cooper Kupp. He's been my wide receiver. Well, he was my wide receiver one before the injury, but now he's back. He's my wide receiver two behind Jefferson. I would take Cooper Kupp. But if you want Chase or Tyreek, they're all in the same tier. That's why I like having like 105, because then you get either one of those top four wide receivers or Christian McCaffrey. It's a win-win. So I like being in that top five, but the farther back in that top five is great because then it's less decisions for me. Or 101 is great because then you just take Justin Jefferson and just call it a day. Also not a decision. But for you, yeah, 102, I would take Cooper Kupp. But if you want the others, that's fine too. Cameron, give Marvin Mims, Tank Bigsby in a 24-second. Get Najee Harris. I'll just take Najee. Just give me Najee. Give me the guy who's going to be probably a back end RB1 this year, if not at least top 15. And I'll just take the running back, Najee Harris. A lot of good wide receivers at the turn, too. None of these RBs have CMC upside. Well, Tony Pollard does. I would argue that Tony Pollard does. Now, whether or not he hits, like that's like a 95th percentile outcome for Tony Pollard to have CMC upside. But that's what I love Tony Pollard a lot this year. And that's why he's one of the reasons why I don't take a running back in the first is because you have the ability to get Tony Pollard in the mid to late second. So if you stack Jamar Chase or Tyreek Hill with Tony Pollard, the ideal start right there. That's perfect. That's the way I look at it. But if Pollard's ADP or where Pollard goes in your draft might be higher than the late second, that could determine some things for you as well too. If you want CMC, that's good too. Breezy, one quarterback, 10 team start 10, half PPR. Give Deshaun, CD, Rashad Bateman, get Lamar, DK, Pittman, Elijah Moore, and Izzy Abanikanda. Just give me CeeDee Lamb. I just want CeeDee Lamb. Because the quarterbacks, I don't really care in a one quarterback league. You would take Lamar over Deshaun for sure, but in a one quarterback league, that difference is kind of minimal. Whereas I would take Bateman over Izzy, and then I would take Lamb over DK, Pittman, and Elijah Moore because you're just 3 for 1ing all the way back up there, even in a start 10. But just take CeeDee Lamb, and I'm sure you could figure out who you can start in the start 10 later on. So I just want CeeDee Lamb. What are you doing with Trey Lance? You're holding the crap out of him, dude. I'm not buying him. I'm not selling him. He's just a hold. There's really nothing else you could do. Like, I don't know what you're selling him for. You can't get a second right now. I'm not selling him for anything less than a second because he still has that upside. Like, if he gets traded to Atlanta or Tampa or somewhere else where he could vie for an actual starter position, his price goes back up. And then I'm selling. Or if Brock Purdy gets hurt, Darnold sucks, so they throw Trey Lance in. Um, I'm not selling now, but I'm selling as soon as his price goes back up. The moment his price goes back up, even for just a second. But he's just a stronghold right now, and I'm not buying him. ETN in a first, get McCaffrey. I'll take McCaffrey. Boom. That's something else that you could do. Peter. ETN in a first, go get Christian McCaffrey. I know you're rebuilding, but that's a value win. And then you sell Christian McCaffrey. You can break him up into other assets or move him over to the wide receiver group. If you can get that done, then you can do that too. But McCaffrey over ETN on a first. CMC is amazing. CMC is just CMC. Kevin, can you look into your crystal ball and let us know where JT is ending up? Dude, I wish. I really want him in Miami. All this Miami talk, it's just the idea of him in Miami with Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle is not only terrifying from an NFL standpoint, like that's like a Madden team, dude. But from a fantasy standpoint, oh my goodness. Like last year, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson combined whenever Jeff Wilson came over for like 1,200 yards and rushing and like 8 touchdowns or something like that. Let me see. So Jeff Wilson, once he joined Miami, in 8 games, rushed for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. All right. And then Raheem Mostert, in those same games, rushed for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. So half of the season, 2 running backs splitting the workload in Miami combined for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns over half of the season. So I know you can't just give Jonathan Taylor both of them combined at the same time, but that shows you the type of volume and explosive ability that you could have from the Miami Dolphins backfield. And that's Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. That's not Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, him in Miami would be unbelievable. Chris, in a 12-team start, 8 Superflex, you traded away Keenan Allen and Christian Kirk for DK Metcalf and Chase Brown. Yeah, that's a phenomenal trade. It hurts to give away the points of Keenan Allen, but you're giving away the age of Keenan Allen. Christian Kirk is a nice player to bump up from. Go get DK Metcalf. Go get the guy who's going to be, he's a dynasty wide receiver 1. Just go upgrade at the wide receiver position. I love upgrading at the wide receiver position to be as lean as possible to then allow for you to roster players like Chase Brown. Love Chase Brown as well, too. Especially if you have Joe Mixon. Yeah, that's great. Awesome trade. Brandon, 12-team start 11, full PPR. Price check on DeAndre Swift. Do you think his value will decrease or increase when the season starts? I think his price will increase when we see him actually producing in this Eagles offense. We see his usage and his snap counts, the volume, everything that goes with it. So I do think his price will increase. You run the risk of him getting hurt, though. So then I think as soon as he gets hurt, then we start having the same, he can't stay healthy. He's injury prone. This is the same as Detroit, blah, blah, blah. You get all that kind of stuff. And the people who were holding out hope that were already on the fringe with DeAndre Swift, but we're holding out hope because they see him in a better offense, potentially having better usage as well. But then he gets hurt, then they're just going to be done. His price will decrease. But if you have DeAndre Swift, I would sell him for a 2024 first, like a mid first right now. So if you can do that, I would just do that now. I wouldn't wait for the NFL season. But if you're not getting at least a 24 first, then I would hold on to him and see how he produces and see if his price increases. Rebuilding team, should I entertain trading Kyler? Idea on prices I should look for in players or picks. I mean, I would entertain it, but I don't know what you're going to get because I feel like he is most valuable to a team like yours that is rebuilding. I don't think a contender is going to give you enough to buy Kyler Murray right now to where it's worth it for you. That's just my guess. What I would be looking for as a rebuilder for trading away Kyler um, would be 3 firsts, honestly, because they're probably late firsts. That's how I would look at it. So, and nobody's going to give you that. So I just hold on to Kyler. 8-man PPR 1 flex drafting from the 108. Who should I take? You should take. Man, there's so many different ways that could go. The top 4 wide receivers are all going to be gone. Christian McCaffrey is going to be gone. So there's your top 5 picks. I'm assuming Travis Kelce is also going to be gone. So there's 6. Eckler's probably then 7. And then 8 just really opens up the floodgates of where the heck do you go from then? I who do you take at 108? Diggs? I'm just trying to get even players in my head at who's even good at the 108 because then you're getting like Saquon Barkley and Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan is there. Bijan's probably my answer. I would take Bijan at the 108. Sorry, I really had to think about who was even available at 108. Bijan would be my answer. Pollard's going around 1 in your redraft league. Dude, that's a wild league. Doesn't go at the 2-3 turn. Went pick 11 last week. Dude, every single mock I've done has him in the mid to late second. Every single one. So maybe I need to alter my strategy a little bit. Was thinking the same thing, and keeping Kyler would help my odds on getting early 24 pick. Yeah. Yep. I would keep Kyler. 3 first. That's my price. That's going to seem high to a lot of people, but 3 first is my price. Where did he go in I'm drafting right now in a redraft league with a bunch of fantasy analysts. He went 18th overall. This is a 10-team league. So he went at the 208 in a 10-team league, which is 206 in a 12-team league. So, fantasy analyst league, he went 206. As if that proves my point. Every league is different. Where are we at? Chef sold Trey Lance in a second for Pickett. That's 2 seconds. Trey Lance in 2 seconds for Pickett. I think that's great. This is how you sell Trey Lance. You're gonna have to add something to him and go up and get somebody else. So yeah. Diggs or Bijan? Bijan. This is for the redraft one, I bet. The 108. Yeah. I take Bijan. Love these Friday shows. Thank you, Tyler. What do you think about this trade 24-second and George Pickens for Austin Eckler? Well, just go get Austin Eckler. That's a phenomenal trade for Austin Eckler if you're rebuilding. I think I want more not if you're rebuilding. If you're competing, go get Austin Eckler. If you're rebuilding and you have Austin Eckler, I don't know if that's enough for me to sell Austin Eckler. But from a competing standpoint, dude, just go get Austin Eckler. That's a phenomenal deal. 18th is way too late. Is their tight end premium? No, dude, it's just a normal league. The top 8 picks went. The top 8 picks were normal, just as we discussed. Bijan went 108. Diggs, Lamb, Chubb, Derrick Henry, Amon Ra, Saquon, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Tony Pollard, and then Waddle, Jacobs, Devonta Smith, and Chris Olave. I feel like that's normal. That Tony Pollard falls to that point, 18th. That's with Justin. That's with Marco. A couple other YouTubers, other fantasy analysts. This is a 10-team fantasy analyst league, and Tony Pollard goes 18th overall. I'll be back next Friday and let you know where he falls. I think I have one on Sunday as well too. I will also let you know how he goes in Sunday's redraft. So we'll see. Oh wait, did I miss a? Yeah, here we go. Had a convo. Colin had a conversation with a friend who hates rostering 2 receivers on the same team. Would you draft Cooks because he had Lamb already? Doesn't bother me at all. What's your opinion on this? There's 2 different ways that I would be more than willing to draft 2 receivers for the same team. It's either A, they're 2 elite wide receivers, so I have no problem drafting Chase and Higgins, no problem drafting AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, or anybody that's in, Waddle and Tyreek, no problem whatsoever with those guys. Because at the end of the year, they're both going to be top 15, if not top 12. So no problem with that whatsoever. The other way that I don't have a problem with it is if it's an elite guy with a not elite guy, like a wide receiver 4 that could be a wide receiver 3 or something like that. Example, CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. No problem with that whatsoever because you're not missing out on a lot in terms of opportunity cost of having drafted Brandon Cooks. And the fact that you have CeeDee Lamb already doesn't really matter to me. I think of like Diggs and Gabe Davis maybe is another example of this. Like you're taking the shot on Gabe Davis more. Diggs is not going to have an issue whatsoever. So it's more taking the shot on Gabe Davis. Don't have an issue with it. Also, this is the third way, is if they're both insanely cheap. So you're trying to find who the guy actually is, and they're both super cheap. So then you draft both those guys. Example of that would be like Nico and John Mechie, or any of the Giants wide receivers. Any of them. Like if you take Hodgins and Darius Slayton, no problem whatsoever. Or you want to take the shot on like Jalen Hyatt. No problem with that whatsoever. Where I do start to get iffy about it is if they're both like 2s and 3s. Like if they're just both kind of meh. Like I don't think I would take Bateman and Zay Flowers because both of them are still valued high enough that you're missing out on some other stuff by drafting both of them. That maybe not. Maybe Bateman and Zay Flowers is not the greatest example. I would not do Debo and Ayuk. So there's different ways of how I feel about it and stuff. But if they are both elite, then I think you also have to take the quarterback. So if you take Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you got to take Joe Burrow. You have to. Because the only way that T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are going to both go off is if Joe Burrow is also going off. So in order to be right, I guess 3 times in one roster, you have to take the quarterback then as well too. So yeah, I don't really have an issue with it. You don't draft London and Pitts, for example. That rides the gap for me. It really rides the border of would I be okay with that? Because yes, they don't have the volume for that, but both of those guys are the only targets on that team. So if they're both seeing 120 plus targets, then it would be fine, especially having Pitts. If Pitts does that with 100 plus targets, you're probably going to end up being happy with him. And Drake London at his price, if he's getting also 115, 120 targets, you're probably also going to be happy with him. But where this sucks though is that more often than not on a weekly basis, it's more likely that it's just one of them and not the other. Whereas if you have like Tyreek and Waddle, they both can go off at the same time in the same game. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they can both go off at the same time in the same game. But London and Pitts, it's more likely that it's just it's one of their weeks and the other one gets nothing. Mustang, what's up, dude? All right, Mustang is a DLF YouTube member, so be more like Mustang if you want extra bonus content from Justin and myself. Um, Discord channel, which Mustang is in. There's a bunch of different uh, exclusive offerings for YouTube members. So thank you, Mustang, for your support. And if you're interested in that, there's a link, not in the description. I'll find the link. This is tough to do whenever it's just by myself. And then usually Justin talks and then I find the link. But that was quick today. There's a link in the comments. If you're interested, just go check it out. But Mustang, weakest link at starter is probably JSN in my flex. Godwin is being offered straight up for him. I know not to make this trade. No, yes, you're right. Don't make the trade. What is the difference in value for JSN to Godwin? There's this is another one where I would not sell JSN for Godwin in a second. You're probably not selling JSN for Godwin in a first. So some sort of player that fits that gap that's more than a second, but less than a first. So maybe it's another wide receiver, like another kind of Godwin or a little bit below, or like a Christian Kirk, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson kind of player. And even then, I feel like I would keep JSN just for the pure upside that he possesses, and not convert him into two wide receivers who are essentially the same. If it's a running back, then you're looking at James Cook or Damian Pierce. Or the more I talk about this, the more I just don't really want to sell JSN for Godwin plus, unless that plus is a first. So I'd just go right to Godwin in a first Mustang. Just see what he says about that. And if he comes with anything really less than that, I don't really think it's worth it. Chris, realistic expectations for Bijan this year? Have him on a rebuilder, and honestly think him and Burrow could be pushing my team out of rebuild fast. Yeah, probably. Depends on what else you have on your team, though, especially how many starters you actually have in your lineup. Because if it's like a start 7, start 8, 2 top 5 players at each of their positions will probably quickly take you out of a rebuild. But if it's like start 10, start 11, 2 players is not going to be that massive of a difference if your other 7, 8, 9 starters are not good. But yeah, so for Bijan this year, I think he finishes top 5. I don't think he has RB1 upside because I don't think that he has the receiving volume enough to get to that point, unless he has just a explosive Jonathan Taylor, Ezekiel Elliott level of season where like he rushes for 1,800 yards, scores 12 or more touchdowns, and then just has enough receiving volume of like 30 to 40 receptions that just kind of buoys him a little bit more on top of that. But I don't think he gets that. I think he's in the range of like 12 to 1,300 rushing yards, probably 8 to 10 touchdowns, and still sees maybe 30 to 40 receptions for another couple hundred receiving yards, maybe another couple touchdowns on top of that, which would make him, I think, top 5. So that's kind of the median outcome that I'm putting for Bijan. If Pollard went top of the first, he'd be a top 3 back probably, which is too high. Top of the second. Pollard goes 16th in FFPC at RB6. His ADP has risen though, so maybe I'm just out of touch with what ADP is in the past couple of weeks. But yeah, Chargers wide receivers. I just want Keenan Allen. If it's in Dynasty, if you have Keenan and Quentin Johnston, it doesn't really matter. For 2023, I just want Keenan. I don't want anybody else. No one is concerned with Pollard. Cowboys keep saying he needs less touches to stay effective. I'm not concerned about Pollard. If they're saying they need to give him less touches, they would have brought in a running back. Like them saying that is just words. There's no actions actually attributed to that. Unless we're completely undervaluing Malik Davis or Rico Dowdle, then they have to give Pollard a ton of touches. So they would have brought in Zeke again. They would have brought in Fournette or somebody else to take away the workload of Tony Pollard. Tyler, I'm just coming out of a rebuild with a young team, so I don't know if my team is competing to do that Eckler trade yet. So I guess my question is, how do I know when to pull the trigger on stuff like this? To me, that's a value win. So even when you're rebuilding, if you're getting wins like that from a value standpoint, then you would be trying to flip them later on. So to me, what I would do, you're coming out of a rebuild, so you're not sure if you're competing yet. I would take the trade. I would take Austin Eckler. See how your team produces over the next couple of weeks as the season goes on. See how it goes basically through September. If you start out 3-0, 4-0, you're competing. You're ready to go. If you're 1-3, 2-2, then you maybe ride it out for another couple of weeks. But then you have decisions to make with Austin Eckler or any other players you have on your team that are like Austin Eckler that are just veteran producers and stuff to trade them away to contenders. What I believe is that you take this Austin Eckler deal. If you're not a contender this year, you trade him for more to an actual contender in season when he's scoring points. And I think you get more than Pickens in a second. So that's kind of the way that I would look at it. That's how I'd approach it if I was your team. See how your season goes for September. And if you're competing, great, keep Austin Eckler, go win a championship. If you're not, or you're on the fringe, look to sell Austin Eckler, and my guess would be that you get more than Pickens in a second. What if you had London, Pitts, and Bijan? Dude, the amount of people that have that trio in Dynasty is insane. Because they're all values, I think. Or at least London and Pitts have been values. And then you just were able to get Bijan. I'd probably move off of one of the widers. I'd move off of London or Pitts if you had all three. I don't want the entire Falcons offense. I'm keeping Bijan of those three, and then I try to move London or Pitts. See which one gets you more. In a rebuild, would you trade Tank, Spears, in a mid to late second for an early mid first? Yes, absolutely. Gone, done. Is Burrow healthy? We haven't gotten much Joe Burrow news, have we? Joe Burrow. Bengals offer encouraging updates on Joe Burrow injury. He looks great. Physically, just walking around, he looks probably as good as he's ever looked up this point, which is a positive, and we'll just go from there, says Zach Taylor. He's walking normally. I think he'll be fine this year. At most, he'll sit a week or two. I think. So maybe he's not healthy right now, but we still got 2 more weeks before the season starts, before their actual week 1 game. And he'll be fine for this season. Parker in a rebuild, 10-man half PPR. Get CeeDee Lamb. Sorry. Give Ramondre, Dobbins, Dotson, and Deshaun. Is this is one quarterback? Or super flex? If this is one quarterback, this is one quarterback. Because in Superflex, this isn't even close. In Superflex, it's not close. It's the Deshaun Watson side. In one quarterback, man, that's a lot. I think you got it. No, I think I would keep Stevenson, Dobbins, and Dotson. Um, I get that they're on your bench, but John, you're late to the party, but you get to have a say on what's going on here. In a rebuild, would you make this deal in a one quarterback league? I I'm keeping Stevenson, Dotson, and Dobbins. That's a lot still. Nope. All right, so we're all in agreement. Stevenson side. John Dotson looks fantastic. Yes, he does, because he went to Penn State. uh, uh, yeah, no, but he looks fantastic. You know why also he looks fantastic? Because of Sam Howell. Stewie has Joey Bosa on a Yahoo platform IDP. They changed him into a linebacker. Oof. I don't play IDP. I hate it. More power to you on that one. But is he a linebacker because they changed to like a 3-4 scheme? So now he's like an outside linebacker, not a DL or a DN. Is that the reasoning why? I, I don't know why else they would do that, but that's unfortunate. Uh, I do know at least that much that I know that that's not good that he went to a linebacker position. That he is a freak for the D line or D end. Paul got the 105 and drafting Mara. I think Kelsey's a clear play. I'm gonna be honest. I took Kelsey in this analyst league that I was talking about. I do not like my team. I don't like it. So yeah, so I would take one of the wide receivers instead. I don't like having Travis Kelsey on my team. So I would take Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp, just like what Genji said. I prefer one of the wide receivers. Or if you get Christian McCaffrey there, wide receivers go top 4. You get CMC at 105. I would take and whoever comes back to 105, I'd take all of them. The other vet I'm eyeing is Tyreek for JSN. He offered Tyreek Hill and Connor for Ridley and Pollard. Oh, that's tempting. Wait, do I take Tyreek Hill and James Conner in this? uh Wait a second. I think I would take Tyreek Hill for this. I love Tony Pollard. We've been talking this whole entire time about how much we love Tony Pollard. But I think I take Tyreek Hill. I think I take Tyreek Hill. um Open 24 hours. What's up, dude? 12 teams, start 10. PPR Superflex. Get my own late 24 first and 25 second. Holy. Did not read that right. Own 24 first and second, late 25 first and second, and an early 24 second, plus Romeo Dobbs for Bijan Robinson. Bijan. If all of those picks are late, it's Bijan. It's Bijan for sure. Minus the early second. I don't care about the early second. Primarily, if those two firsts end up being late, then I would take Bijan. Give me Bijan. He plays edge. Yeah, Bosa plays edge, but outside linebacker. That's just a Yahoo thing, man. That sucks. My league appears to undervalue running back. I'm not trying to get another running back as I traded for these guys in the past year. Gibbs, Brees, and Bijan. Nice. But I know that the Jonathan Taylor owner is selling. So one way you could look at this, you could try to move Reese or Gibbs, see if he would take one of those two for Jonathan Taylor plus. Like Taylor in a second. for Gibbs or Brees. That would be a way that I would look to acquire Jonathan Taylor, and then add more value to your roster, to your team. If you're able to do that, then I would look at it. But I also understand you just saying, you know what? I got the RB1, the RB2, and the RB3 in Dynasty, and I'm just going to call it a day. I understand that too. But there could be an opportunity depending on how much he wants to sell. Oh, Brees in a second for JT in a first. John, oh man, I miss you for this past like hour. What a phenomenal trade idea. I love it. This is how you do it. Go get Jonathan Taylor and go get a first. I would send that offer right now. See how much he wants to move off of Jonathan Taylor. Chris, wide receiver room currently sitting on for my rebuilder. JSN, Pickens, JMO, Bateman, Elijah Moore, Downs, Osborne. Where should I tier up at? Start 3 plus 3 flexes, 2 flexes in this league. Ooh. So everybody past JSN, all tier upable. That's a new phrase. So let me give you some examples. Can you turn Pickens and Jameson Williams into, looking at this list, Judy or Addison or Christian Watson? Maybe. That would be a move I would look. You could move Bateman and Elijah Moore for another like Pickens JMO wide receiver, like a Treylon Burks or a Zay Flowers or Quentin Johnston. I don't know if you can do that. That's probably too high. Maybe get Dotson. I don't know. Maybe one of those guys. And now you have JSN and we'll say Jerry Judy and Jahan Dotson. Ideal. Super ideal. By turning those 4 into Dotson and maybe Judy or Addison or somebody like that. That would be the way I would try to tier up with those guys. $2 super chat. Tyler, just want to say thank you for your help. Thank you for the super chat, man. I wish you luck with your getting out of your rebuild team to your contending team. Hopefully Austin Eckler helps put you over the edge for this year. And you know, we're doing this every single week. So if you need more advice down the road or anything like that, or if you get to a point where, you know, you're not sure where you're at the end of September, and what do we do for Austin Eckler and all that kind of stuff. If you do decide to trade him at that point, definitely come back in and we can see what we can do. So yeah, but thank you for the super chat and glad that I could help. YWL 25 first for Najee. I would take Najee over the 25 first. Najee. If you have Najee and you have Tua, I have a team name for you. Me Najee Tua. Oh, you don't pronounce Tua like Tua, do you? I like it. I would like to buy JMO, then realize he's still worth a first. He is? No way Jameson Williams is still worth a first. He wasn't worth the first before he got before like preseason, before training camp, before all this crap of him dropping balls and all that kind of stuff. He's worth a first? I don't know. Parker, what's your take on Christian Watson? Advanced stats from rookie year look clean, but Dobbs has been beating him out throughout training camp. All right. So Christian Watson has a lot going for him and a lot going against him as well. The advanced stats are great. You know, you look at target per route run, yards per route run, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, he had that 4 game stretch where he was phenomenal. But then you start looking at the other stuff, like his stats with Romeo Dobbs on the field. Romeo Dobbs obviously has been outproducing him in preseason this year because Christian Watson is taking double coverage, I think. And Jaden Reed obviously looks good too. Um, and just, I don't think Watson is good enough of a wide receiver to be able to handle double coverage like that, which is why Romeo Dobbs is probably doing so well. You look at some other stuff against Christian Watson, as in like the list of wide receivers who had a ton of touchdowns on very limited volume, target volume as a rookie. That list is not very favorable to him. There's another stat I talked about Christian Watson in a video on polarizing players. Yeah, this one. That link's down below. Um, where I talk about Christian Watson in that video, kind of the good and kind of the bad. Um, I like him from a standpoint of that he has the ceiling to do really, really well, but the floor is so low as well too. So it's just, it's how much risk are you willing to put into Christian Watson? And I think I think he's priced really well too, because it's kind of it it he's the first guy after like all the guys that we're really confident on and all these wide receiver twos that we're really confident on and a couple of the producing veterans and stuff that are going to produce a ton of points and we know are going to produce a ton of points this year. But then right after that, he's at the top of the list of like all these other guys like Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Judy, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman. Like Christian Watson should be ahead of those guys because of the ceiling. Sorry, because of the ceiling that he has is so much higher than all those guys, but his floor is so much lower. But you're willing to take that shot on him from a ceiling standpoint, rather than just have a PPR guy that you can get at wide receiver like 40 versus like wide receiver 20. I don't, I don't know. I've been pretty anti Christian Watson like his entire career, even before the draft, after the draft, last season, this whole entire offseason. I've just been pretty out on Christian Watson. Um, if he gets targets, he'll be fine. He'll have games for you. But yeah, I've been pretty out on him. Brian, what would you be trying to move Hollywood for? I have offers of Sharp in a second and Bateman. Sharp in a second, automatically done. I would do that one. Yeah, I'm not doing Bateman in a second. John agrees. But I would do Charbonnet in a second for Hollywood. Which I think, yeah, I agree. Like, you're not getting a first now. You might get a first in season, especially like if Kyler comes back and that looks good and stuff. You could probably straight up get a first. Sharp and a second, though, is worth a first. Well, I mean, Sharp is a first right now in terms of rookie draft price. Um, then you get a second on top of that. I would take Charbonnet in a second for Hollywood. I'm a big Hollywood fan. I'd take Charbonnet in a second. Christian Watson or Drake London? Drake London. Drake London also has immense ceiling as well. It's just the situation. Uh, but I would take Drake London. He was just far and away so much a better prospect. Did way more in terms of like you want to talk about like advanced analytics for Christian Watson. Look at the advanced analytics for Drake London last year too. Drake London all day, every day. JMO 612, sleeper ADP, wide receiver 29. Per sleeper, the last 3 trades for JMO in 1-for-1. Swift 24. Wow. What? Just pulled up the DLF trade finder. Jameson Williams for MVS in a second. Jameson Williams for Jared Goff. Jameson Williams for Russell Wilson. Both of those in Superflex leagues. Jameson Williams in a second for Rashad White. Jameson Williams for Alexander Madison in a second. Jameson Williams for Romeo Dobbs. There you go. Williams for Calvin Ridley. Williams for Cam Akers, Williams for James Cook, Williams for Damian Pierce, Williams for Zach Charbonnet. What in the world is going on with Jameson Williams' value? I need to make a video to say sell Jameson Williams. uh yeah, I agree. Much rather have Hollywood and Godwin. Yeah, 100%. If you have Jameson Williams right now, go sell him. Go sell Jameson Williams. Brian, I just saw a thing earlier today. It was a beat reporter saying that the Cardinals still are 100% on board with the plan of playing Kyler Murray as soon as he's ready to come back. So I did see that. That was just this morning. I saw that. So I think Kyler comes back, and I think Hollywood's going to be good with Kyler. But I would take Charbonnet in a second. Thoughts on Josh Downs long term? So the unfortunate part about Josh Downs is he plays with a quarterback who sucks at throwing the ball. So that's unfortunate. But I would like to think that he can beat out Alec Pierce for like the wide receiver 2 role on the team in terms of like the target share and all that kind of stuff behind Michael Pittman. I just think he's a good player. I think he's a good route runner. And I think he's very quarterback friendly because of the separation that he's able to create. I don't know what he is long term. Like I would sell him for a second. Because I don't know if he ever just develops into anything more than that, you know? Like I would like to say upside wise, he turns into what we hope Elijah Moore can become. But like downside wise, I see him as just like a Rondale Moore kind of asset. Like he is what he is at this point, you know? Or like maybe best case scenario, like a Jacoby Myers or a you know, like a Juju. But yeah, it's kind of I want so much more for Josh Downs. I loved him coming out. What would you add to Watson to get to London? I would not pay a first. I would not pay Watson in a first for London, but anything less than a first or any of the players that rides that gap. Watson and Hollywood. I'd do Watson and Hollywood. Watson and Jameson Williams, apparently. Watson and Damian Pierce for Drake London. Watson and Isaiah Pacheco for Drake London. 2 seconds. I'd do all that. I don't know what you have on your team. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Hopefully I gave you some ideas at least. Mustang, one last one. Same contending team. I have Kelsey in my flex with Kittle as my starting tight end. Was offered Ingram in a 24 first for Kelsey. Tough because you're going to lose the points. I would keep Travis Kelsey. Genji agrees. If you're a heavy contender, I hold on to Kelsey. Can you get that offer for Kittle? I would do that offer for Kittle. I'm assuming that you probably wouldn't just because he wants Kelsey, but I would take that deal if it was for Kittle. Got Jameson for Dulcich in a second, so I guess I did well there. Yeah, apparently you did. Now go flip him for a first. Yeah. Sold JMO in a third for Burks. There you go. Burks. Now see if you can flip Burks. Building blocks on building blocks. Just keep going up and up and up. Anthony, what's up? What are you doing with Trey Lance at this point? One quarterback dynasty with Hurts as my starter. Do you cut him for Stafford? I would absolutely much rather have Matthew Stafford than Trey Lance. In one quarterback league, I mean, I'd probably be willing to cut him. I'd be doing everything I can not to cut him. Like I'd try to get something for him. Like, can you get like a third for him? I don't even know if you can get that. If you could trade Trey Lance though for a third in one quarterback and then pick up Matthew Stafford, I would do that. Other than that, though, I'd rather have Stafford as a backup. Would I cut Trey Lance to do that though? I don't know. There has to be somebody else that you can cut just to hold on to Trey Lance. But I try to trade him and then pick up Stafford. Steven, Tua and Dak for Superflex. Bryce Young on the bench. Tua plus Dak for wait. Did I miss something? In terms of like how this quarterback room looks, I like it. You could try to trade up, like what Genji said. That would be fun, but I like it. Can you go to? Can you turn Dak into Dak and a? Dak in a 2025 first for Trevor Lawrence? Can you do that? Because I don't think you get any higher than that. Idea. Something I'll maybe look for. Slightly certified. What a fantastic spelling. I love that. Sorry. Start 9, 10 team, 1 quarterback PPR. Jonathan Taylor plus Flowers plus 24 first equals Burrow. I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor and the first. In a 1 quarterback league, I'm taking JT Flowers in the first. Pretty easily as well too. I'm not doing all that just for Joe Burrow in a 1 quarterback league. Auctions, so no draft picks, just fab dollars. Oh. What's the fab dollar equivalent of a third? I've never played in a league that had rookie auctions. I should probably do that, huh? I've wanted to. It sounds like really fun, but I've never played in a league where it has rookie bucks. So I can't even give you a number. Like I don't even know. Like is $5 a lot or not enough, or is $50 a lot or not enough? I can't even give you a number. I'm sorry. Full PPR Dynasty London and early 24 first. Wait, did I miss? Or AJ Brown? AJ Brown. I'll take AJ Brown. Is this super flex or 1 quarterback? I don't think it matters. I think I'd still take AJ Brown. But that trade could also be really bad in a year if that's like 101 or 102 in super flex. But I'll take AJ Brown. Would you trade Burks in a second for Tony Pollard? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. Tony Pollard all day. Genji, what do you think of this trade? I saw in the league, Josh Allen, Lockett, or Hollywood? Gaps. Jesus. I haven't eaten anything today, so I'm spacing out. Josh Allen, Tyler Lockett, or Hollywood, Gibbs, and Dak? I'll take Josh Allen. At the end of the day, just give me Josh Allen in Superflex. But it seems I mean, if you love Gibbs like that, nah, I'll take Josh Allen. 25 first and 2 for Herbert. I mean, absolutely. I don't think you can get that, but absolutely. 25 first and Dak for Trevor Lawrence, and I see Tua and Dak basically identical. So if you could add a first to either one of them and get to Herbert, Lamar, Lawrence, Burrow, any of them by just adding a 25 first, done. Easy, done. Smokey the Cat, can I get your feedback on 12-team PPR team? Burrow, Bijan, Jacobs, Gibbs, Perrine, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. I like it a lot. Your running backs are fantastic. Obviously, Burrow is fantastic as well. Um, your wide receiver, you're gonna have some decisions to make, I think, at wide receiver. Uh, but uh, but overall, I mean, your running backs are gonna carry you. Muth and Kincaid, I think, are gonna be great. Joe Burrow's great. Yeah, this is a really good team. Really, really good team. I like it. Parker, I took that CD trade I mentioned earlier. Retrospective regret. Starting CD Lamb, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Drake London, Olave, benching JSN. Holy crap! You have a ton of wide receivers. Yeah, I'd be doing some 2-for-1s. JMO and Christian Watson. Uh, move them up for. I mean, you already have DK and you have Devonta Smith and you have Drake London. Who else do you even get at this point? Can you get Tyreek or get up into like Amon Ra or Jalen Waddle or Garrett Wilson? I'd just start pack. I'd get like 4 or 5 guys that are all like top 15. That's what I would do. Just see how much you can go. Gabs. Yeah. I'm spacing, dude. I'm a little bit sick right now as well. Johnny missed that as well. I'm just a little bit sick. Haven't eaten yet today. Gabs. Is Hawkinson worth grabbing to start up at a 412 or 501 with no tight end premium? Again, this also depends on if it's one quarterback or super flex. I'm going to assume super flex, in which case, no. I'd go for Dallas Goddard. Our Superflex ADP on DLF has TJ Hawkinson at the 4 or 5 turn. So if it's his ADP, I'd rather just go like Dallas Goddard is 3 rounds after TJ Hawkinson. I'd rather not take Hawk and get Dallas Goddard 3 rounds later, all day, every day. That's in our Superflex ADP. In one quarterback ADP, Hawkinson is in the early 4th, but again, Goddard is still 2 rounds later. The value of Dallas Goddard is insane. So I would, if you can sit and just not take Hawkinson and get Dallas Goddard a couple rounds later, I would much rather do that. Should I sell Dak for a 24-second and pick up Kenny Pickett in a 1 quarterback league? No. I would keep Dak over the second. And I don't really want Kenny Pickett either. Last one from me for Steven. I have D Hop and Burks, probably hold both for now. Yeah, probably. I don't know if you could like package them both since they're both on the same team. You get people who don't want wide receivers on the same team. They're really hard to sell right now. I think especially because Burks is hurt. D Hop might just go off because Burks is hurt. So you could have that where you just basically wait until both of them start producing and then sell both. I don't know what you're selling them for. You're not getting a first for either one of them. If you get a first, that's fantastic, but you're not. QB Hurts, running back J.K. Dobbins, Rashad White, Charbonnet, Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Christian Watson, Deontay. Where can you improve? Tight end position. But you already knew that. So with this roster, I'm trying to think what I would do here. This is Dynasty, right, Anthony? I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yep. Dynasty. All right. So from a dynasty perspective, I would Man, a lot of very similarly valued assets. So it's kind of you have multiple ways you can go about this. I'm just trying to figure out what the best is. Uh what I would probably do is trade like Alec Pierce or Juju and go get like Tyler Higbee or somebody like that to produce for you because I think this team is a contender this year. I think you have enough to contend here for this year. So if you get a tight end in there who's just going to score you solid enough points without breaking the bank, then I think that you could buy yourself some weeks and potentially make a run this year. Uh, so you could do something minimal like that, just see where that gets you. If you end up not competing, like if you basically you get through September, you're 1-3, 0-4 possibly, then I would start tearing it down. I would basically sell all the running backs, maybe not sell Charbonnet, but just strip it. Keep Hurts, CD Lamb, maybe probably Charbonnet. Everything else can go. So JK RB1 starting as a contending team. So in a perfect world, J.K. Dobbins is a back end RB1. So the way that I see this is you have Jalen Hurts, you have the potential of a back end RB1 in J.K. Dobbins, the potential of a solid RB2 in Rashad White, whatever the heck DeAndre Swift is. You have a top 5 wide receiver, a top 15 wide receiver in Christian Watson, maybe top a wide receiver 2 in Christian Watson with wide receiver 1 Spike Weeks. You have a solid wide receiver 2 in Deontay Johnson, a solid wide receiver 2 in Brandon. You just don't have a tight end. So you are going to it's probably going to be like in the weeks where you start having bye weeks or any injuries, you're going to start struggling. So you're not like an over the top contender. That's why I think that you are contending enough to where I would just try to see what happens, but try to see what happens and as minimal of an impact to your actual longevity as possible. So go and sell Juju or Alec Pierce and go get like Tyler Higbee or, um, Mike Gesicki or a Gerald Everett or somebody like that. And then see what happens. And then if you go into the season and you just can't break out of the 500 range, sell immediately. Just start stripping this all down. Keep Lamb, Hurts, and maybe Charbonnet. Strip everything else. That's the way that I would attack this team. So hopefully, yeah, Dalton Schultz is another great. Yeah, that's how I would go. So, because I think this team is contending if everything goes right, or if at least a couple more pieces of this go right. You know, but that's where. But I'm also very quick to say, you know what, it's not working out. I'm 3-3. I'm like 2-4. It ain't it. This ain't my year. Sell. Sell. So happy to help. That's the way I would look at it. Let's scroll back up. Or is that 24 second or JMO? Can you get 2 seconds? Can you pull an extra second out of him? I'd probably keep Jameson Williams just for the upside because we know that as soon as we get to like week 4, week 5, we're going to be like, oh, guys, Jameson Williams is coming back. Guys, Jameson Williams coming back. And that will probably increase his price at that point over just I would take the shot on him for a random second. But if you get 2 seconds, then I would sell. Doesn't take much to add on top of this for me to sell. I'm not on the Juwan Johnson train. I don't know, dude. It's just I'm not there. Is that a Derek Carr thing? Is that why everybody loves Juwan Johnson? Just because of what he's done with Darren Waller? I'm not there with Juwan Johnson. Maybe it's still my feelings are hurt because he was supposed to be good at Penn State and never did anything outside of the one catch against Iowa. But I just like you look at what he did last year. He had 7 touchdowns on 42 receptions. That's it. He only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so he never had a game with more than 5 receptions. And he had as many games with under 2 receptions as he did 5. He just scored 7 touchdowns on 42 receptions in a season where Michael Thomas was largely hurt for the majority of the year, basically all of the year. Chris Olave was still there. They didn't have Kendrick Miller at the time. Like, I don't get it with Juwan Johnson. I just don't get it. Carr is an upgrade for sure, but I'm not, I don't get it. I'm not there. I'm not there. Does MT operate in a lot of the area Juwan will this season? See, I think if Michael Thomas is healthy, then yes. If Michael Thomas is healthy, Juwan Johnson is nothing. Because it's just Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. Kamara, whenever he comes back after his slap on the wrist suspension. Still got Kendrick Miller. Still got Jamal Williams. Rashid Shaheed is still there too. I mean, maybe A.T. Perry does something. I'm not. I can't get on board with Juwan Johnson. Steven, so is this a contender then in a 10-team start 9, tight end premium, dynasty superflex, Tua deck? See, I think you are. That's an if on the side of the green. Sorry, I just read that one. But yeah, Steven, yes, I think you are. Because, and again, it's in a very similar situation, but I think it's still good though, because you have pieces that even if you're not contending this year, you have the future value to still contend later on down the road with, Bryce Young develops, Jahmyr Gibbs develops, maybe J.K. Dobbins turns into a top 15 back end RB1 like I think he can be. Garrett Wilson develops, JSN develops. You got Njoku and Laporta and Chigo Konkwu. Like this team is a contender if a couple of these players hit and things go right. It's very easily not a contender though. In which case, if it's not, then I'm very quick to sell Ramondre. I'm quick to sell Khalil Herbert, quick to sell DeAndre Hopkins, and Njoku can go. So I do think that you are a contender. But you are probably more middle of the pack. Like you're not like a glaring yes, you are a contender, but you are a playoff team. I'll put it that way. Maybe you're a first round exit, but you're a playoff team. And if a couple of things go right, you could be more than that. A couple of things don't go right, maybe you're 8th. You would assume there are stronger teams in a start 9-10 team, possibly. Had Andrews and sold for JSN and Laporta. No, I like that deal. I like those are the moves that solidify the future value of your team. Because that's something that if you had Andrews in season and your team actually doesn't end up being a contender, that is a move that you would make in season. So yeah. But again, I think you are. Now, if you make that move where you do Tua and a first for Justin Herbert, or Dak and a first for Justin Herbert, absolutely. The only other thing that I could think to do on this team is if you traded like DJ Moore and Deontay and you go get like DK Metcalf or somebody like that. Somebody who has a ceiling that is not just a good wide receiver too. Somebody who has wide receiver 1 upside to pair with Garrett Wilson. You get the production now in D-Hop, the what if in JSN and the what if in Burks, that you have the upside there still. Things that you can do with that team. The league, Addison, up and coming creator in the space here. Thank you. I was wondering, do you think playlists are beneficial for channel growth? I'm considering making a playlist for my shorts. All right. So YouTube question. I love this. This is at least from our experience with DLF, let me pull this up so I can make sure I'm saying the right things. Playlist views are really relatively low. Now, at the same time that I do think that you can make a playlist and then you can put that playlist on your like your front page, like your channel page. We do that. And we try to put the playlist at the top that we want to promote the most, right? So if shorts are the thing that you want to promote the most, you can create a playlist for them and throw that up at the very top. So then it's one of the first things that people see when they visit your page initially. Um, I think playlists also are nice from a standpoint of aggregating very similar videos, so that if somebody's looking for a uh, um, very specific, what am I trying to say? Like topic or information or video style or type, then there's other videos that you can point them to that are also of the same vein. So you could do that. Like for example, like I think our trade show playlist is really good because it's all about dynasty trades. So if you're looking for dynasty trades, if you want trying to find a player that you want an opinion on, you can scroll through that playlist and try to see if you see somebody in the thumbnail or somebody in the description or something like that. That you could find that as well too. Our playlist views overall not really super high. Like people aren't just like going to a playlist and clicking on it. Um, I'm trying to find that in our analytics, but I can't. Playlist views. So yeah, so that's the way I would look at it from a playlist standpoint, is that they're just nice to package videos of the same vein together. And if you want to promote something on your channel, or that's the content that you want to point people to that visit your channel, then I would throw that at the very top in a playlist. So yeah, so I wish you luck. I wish you luck as you are an up and coming creator in here. And drop your channel down below as well. Just drop a link to the channel so then people can hit you up, see what you're about. But yeah, any more YouTube questions? I love it. I love talking YouTube. Or you can just DM me. That works too. DMs are open. Ron Rivera says Jacoby Brissett will start and play roughly a quarter and a half versus Cincinnati. Sam House starter. If I package for a running back, I think I contend Lamar, Javonte, James Cook, CD. I think you're contending here too. You need a running back. You absolutely need a running back. But I think your wide receivers can carry you very far. That even if you just get modest production from Javonte or James Cook, or you fill in with handcuffs throughout the year, that can buy you weeks, buy you an RB2 spot here and there. That those wide receivers will carry you pretty far, and Lamar. I love having a rebuild teams because at any time you can flip those picks and young players for older production. Just got to pick the right time. Yeah, yep, you can absolutely do that. And that's why I kind of like having these teams that are middle of the pack, because it gives you the option to contend or rebuild as well. You just got to be smart and know when to pull that trigger in one direction or the other. More often than not, that triggers to rebuild, by the way, and not go for it. I'd be trying to make 2-3 moves to package some pieces together for more studs, and you'll be set. Just don't go too far and have no depth. Yep. And don't crush your future value either. Don't crush the dynasty value of your team just to compete for this year. Big lesson. Big lesson. Has your view changed on Pickett at all? I know it's preseason, but he looks like a completely different player. Yeah, so he's growing on me. Kenny Pickett is growing on me. I kind of joked about this on Twitter last night, but I said that it's kind of a win-win situation for me for Pickett. Either I'm right because he sucks, or he is great. I'm wrong in that he's like pretty good, but then I'm benefiting from it as a Steelers fan. The only way where I'm really not, it's not a win-win for me with Kenny Pickett, is if he's good enough that he's flying for fantasy, but he's also like not winning games for the Steelers, and we're just like, 9-8, not really making the playoffs. but we keep him longer than we should. Like we like Andy Dalton him or Derek Carr him. Like like that would be the loss. Because I don't know if he has the ceiling to be a franchise quarterback to compete. I'd like I don't ever see a world where he's not the fourth best quarterback in their division. That's just the reality. I don't see a world where he's not the fourth best quarterback in the division. Maybe unless Deshaun Watson completely flames out and he's not Texans Deshaun Watson ever again, then maybe. But he's not good. Then at best, he won't be third best. He won't be better than Lamar. He won't be better than Burrow. So it's just, yeah. I'd capitalize on this and trade him. Yep. Move over to like trade him for Kirk Cousins, or can you get up to Tua or Kyler? Trade up. Thanks for the Fantasy Life suggestion. Great notifications and quicker than Sleeper. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't have the Fantasy Life app downloaded, this is that little football icon. It's a Fantasy Life app, and the alerts are fantastic. Just turn on all the NFL alerts, and you will get everything. It's faster than Sleeper, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So you need to have the FLA app downloaded on your phone with notifications on. Fantasy Life app. Edward, 10-team non-PPR. Would you give the 107 and 208 for Ridley? Is this one quarterback? If this is super flex, I want the picks. Because I agree with Genji. I will take Addison and Quentin Johnson over Ridley in Dynasty. If it is one quarterback, I would take Ridley over the picks in one quarterback, because you're probably not getting those wide receivers. So Oh, I guess people can click on your name in the chat too, huh? To get to your, I'll have to go back in and subscribe. 25 first and 2 for Herbert sent. Good luck, dude. Good luck. Maybe send the same offer with Dak. If he prefers one or the other, just send them both. Send 2 offers. Let him choose. Maybe he prefers one or the other. See if you can get Dak. Yeah, dude. Turn Kenny Pickett into Dak. That'd be phenomenal. All right, let's fly through some stuff because I gotta make a video today. Gotta make a video. Gavin, thoughts so far? 12-team Superflex PPR, 0.75 tight end premium. Start 10 through 5 rounds. Dak, Tua, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, DK Metcalf. 2 extra firsts and an extra 7th and an 8th. That's a phenomenal start. Another Dak and Tua team. 2 extra 24 firsts. Fantastic. You got an extra 7th and an 8th. I've been finding that the 6th, 7th, 8th are rounds where I want to be in. I just really like the players that are in that range. So yeah, if you can come out of the 7th and 8th with like 3 or 4 wide receiver 2s ish, then maybe see if you can try to trade up, or maybe you move JT for another wide receiver, and then move a wide receiver for another running back. I don't know. There's trades that you can make at the end of this. But overall, I really, really like what you got going on for you. So yeah, that's it. It sounds pretty great so far. 1 QB, I would take Ridley. I'd take Ridley over 107 and 208. Fellow Steelers fan here. I too hated us drafting Kenny Pickett, but he might end up being okay. See, there's a difference though. Like, I don't want him to just be okay. Like, I don't want Andy Dalton. I don't want Derek Carr. I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why if I was a general manager for an NFL team, I would just continue to draft a quarterback until I found a guy who could be Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or somebody like that, I'd get fired after 2 years or 3 years of doing that, but that's what I would do, because I don't want to be an NFL team that looks at like Jared Goff or Mac Jones and be like, I could win with this quarterback. You can't, especially not with the other quarterbacks in the league right now. There's no way you can't. So, and that's why I don't see the ceiling with Kenny Pickett. So, from an NFL standpoint, I still don't think Pickett is a long term answer. Which would you prefer, Pickens in a mix second or DK? DK, absolutely, DK Metcalf. We're all Birds fans. He prefers Tua. Okay. Yep. My bad. Fantasy Life on the apps. So it's the Fantasy Life app. App Store. So go in, search, just type in Fantasy Life spelling. And it's so there's an ad for Yahoo, but it's the first one. Fantasy Life. I don't know what the heck Paper Princess is, but Fantasy Life. This one. That's the one you want. Download, turn notifications on. Best notifications in the business. Better than Sleeper. Better than Sleeper. Being average at quarterback just doesn't win Super Bowls. Goff went to a Super Bowl, though. Well, Goff went to a Super Bowl because the team around him was phenomenal. Now, with that being said, Pittsburgh could definitely build a Rams team-ish. But so many things have to go right for your team to make it to the Super Bowl when you don't have an elite quarterback. Notice how he also didn't win he lost to Tom Brady. So there is that as well. John, did they win? So there is that. But that's why I'm still pessimistic on Pickett. Anthony, would you drop Schoonmaker for Jake Ferguson? Oof. In Dynasty, no. But I would like to. This is that contending team, right? Where it's Komet and Schoonmaker. Do you have somebody else that you could drop? Who are some potential guys on the back end of your roster that you could drop, and then you just roster all 3 tight ends? Because Jake Ferguson, then you don't have to go buy Tyler Higbee. You just have Jake Ferguson. Being a mid team is worse than being the worst team in the league coming from a Bears fan. This is why as a Steelers fan, my entire life, we've been to 3 Super Bowls, 1, 2, and I am absolutely freaking terrified that we're going to be a middle of the pack team. It's just because I feel spoiled, and I'm so terrified of having a middle of the pack team. Keeper question: keeping Waddle in the 4th, needed to keep one more. Lamar, D Hop, Tua, Ingram. Man, it's between the quarterbacks for me. Dang it! I'd take Tua in the 14th. Stack him with Jalen Waddle. Get your 5th rounder back. Tua. So I may have asked, well, what did you think about Anthony Richardson's game? Well, he sucks at throwing the football. As if that's anything new to us, though. Like, I feel like that's something that throughout the entire offseason, we all just kind of forgot. You know, that he just is not a good thrower. So he 6 for 17 for 78 yards, dude. He had fewer passing yards on the same number of completions as Sam Ehlinger. But he ran 5 times for 38 yards. But that's not the story of Anthony Richardson's career as a prospect and what he could be in the NFL. That's something that I'm going to be so interested to see what happens with Anthony Richardson, because if he is a rushing quarterback, he's going to be phenomenal for fantasy, obviously, as we know. We watched Justin Fields last year. But if he's not able to be a competent thrower of the football as a quarterback in the NFL, he's going to have a short lifespan. That's basically how it's going to be. His upside is Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was at least competent throwing the football. He was like annoyingly bad at a lot of times, but he was at least competent with it. 6 of 17 for 78 yards is not going to get it done. No matter if he rushes for 150 and 2. Like, you're going to have to throw at some point. Lamar can throw. Josh Allen can throw. Jalen Hurts can throw. Justin Fields, I think, can throw because he did it in college. So we'll just have to see what Anthony Richardson turns into. And hope that he can learn how to throw. So that's the annoying part. Do I just follow all 32 teams on the app? What are my notifications turned on for? Fantasy Life app. More notification settings. So I have minor news and breaking news on for football for notification settings. And then in terms of news, yeah, that's basically what I got. You go to NFL. I don't think you can you favorite every single team? I don't have any favorited teams or anything in here. Which now I'm wondering what happens if I just follow all of them. Like, I haven't followed all the teams on here. I just have minor news and breaking news turned on in my notification settings. And I get the same notifications that you get for Sleeper, sometimes more, and they're faster than Sleeper. You get them like a few minutes before Sleeper does, which is going to be key in the in-season, because if you have waivers that are just free-flowing waivers that you can pick up anybody, and you get that injury notification, you can go to the waivers before somebody else does. Carl's, Lamar or Bryce Stafford in first? Lamar. Absolutely Lamar Jackson. One quarterback startup dynasty on Sunday. Which strat do I use? Hero running back? No running back. Haven't done a lot of one quarterback before. So I would. The only running backs that I would take in a startup are Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Unless you get a massive value on Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor, and I'm talking like a round and a half value for them, then I would be willing to take them. But I would generally go no running back, zero running back. The hero running back could work again if it's Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs, then that could work. But stack up the wide receivers. I'd be more apt to get an elite tight end, although Dallas Goedert is still phenomenal value. I would get an elite quarterback. Doesn't have to be Mahomes or Allen or Hurts, but I would get a Burrow, Lamar, Herbert. I'd get one of the top 6, essentially. So I would prioritize that and then just see where the wide receiver or the running backs go. Thoughts on Kincaid? Wow, we have so many comments. All right, we're going to run through these so then I'm done at 2. 5 more minutes. Let's do it. Thoughts on Kincaid for my starting tight end? I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have a good rookie year. He might be a little bumpy at the beginning of the year just because getting integrated into the offense, rookie tight end, but I think he's going to have a good year. So I don't mind it as your starting tight end, but I would also probably look to see if you could get like a Jake Ferguson or a Tyler Higbee or somebody else who's more of a veteran guy that's super cheap that could also give you fantasy points as well. Because if Kincaid ends up not being good for the first couple of weeks, you're going to end up needing that other guy. Superflex start 8, PPR, no tight end premium startup strategy, QB, or QB wide receiver, QB. I would generally, I like leaving the first 2 rounds with a quarterback. I like having one of the top guys that I just mentioned, like one of the top 6 guys or a Trevor Lawrence or somebody like that. And then flipping that back and getting like a Tua or a Dak or a Deshaun Watson. If it ends up being that you get one of the top guys, but then your second guy is like Kirk Cousins or Geno or Aaron Rodgers, or like those are the best guys that you're looking at after, or any of the rookies, basically, like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, I would take a wide receiver then in the second and then see what comes back in the third. You honestly you could get Tua in the third. I've seen that happen before this year too, where Tua is a third round startup pick, early third. But that would be like if you picked um, at the top like 4 picks and you got like Jalen Hurts, we'll say. And then you come back around, you get a wide receiver in the back of the second, then you get Tua at the beginning of the third. That could be a way that you go. But that's generally QB wide receiver or QB wide receiver QB. And it just kind of depends on where you're at with the quarterback in the second round. I like Schoonmaker because the NFL, they took him in the second round. And he's athletic. So, yeah, I do like him. I would not cut Keontae. I'd probably cut Alec Pierce. Yeah, I'd probably cut Alec Pierce. That's what or taking Sam Howell. I told them they should, dude. I was like, I have any input whatsoever. I was like, dude, take Sam Howell, not Kenny Pickett. Let's see. Gift wrapped by the zebras. Honestly, Super Bowl 40 is the one that I remember the least. I was like 9 years old during that Super Bowl, and it got me hooked on football. So I remember that one the least. I remember Willie Parker's touchdown. I remember Antoine Randall's pass to Hines Ward. As a 9-year-old, I do not remember what the referees were like at that time. So yeah, sorry, I don't have an input on that, but I know we won the game, so that's all I care about. Have I broken 80 yet? No, I haven't even broken 90 either. Annoying. I need to get back out there. My friend who I go golfing with all the time has been on vacation in Europe for the past like 2 weeks and has left me here alone. I mean, I can go out by myself, but that's not as fun. Max, what team Superflex half PBR, half tight end premium, start 10? Should I buy and compete or sell with this roster? So this roster, I think that you are retooling. I won't say you're rebuilding because you have Allen, Tua, London, Higgins, Muth. But I don't think that you have enough here to compete. So I would be shipping off Brandon Cooks as soon as you can. I would ship off maybe Geno. If there's a team out there who's competing but they need a better QB2, I'd ship Geno off. I would be ready to ship Dobbins off. Probably take him into the season, see what he looks like. Unless you can get a first for him. I would take a first for him right now. But he's easy to take into the season to see if he starts competing because his price could go up. Gibson, I think you need to hold to see before he starts competing, and then sell him. But I don't think you're competing this year. But there's not a lot that you can really do right now outside of maybe Geno and Dobbins and Cooks and Gibson. Only 4 names I can think of. Having 6 firsts over the next 2 years is great, though. Amaze Hayes, beat writers, and Fantasy Life app. Holy Trinity of sources. There you go. There you go. What more do you need? What do you think of me trading Jefferson for Devontae and Ramondre in Dynasty? No. Absolutely not. In redraft? Okay. Dynasty, no. When is the Bijan Robinson jersey going up in the background? Caleb, listen, you know how expensive a Bijan Robinson jersey is? Each of those were like $30 on Pristine Auction, dude. Maybe if we get some more YouTube members to help pay for the Bijan jersey. What I wanted, there's a dude selling a Jahan Dotson jersey like not in my area, but within the vicinity. Like I'd probably have to drive like an hour or so to go like meet him where he's at. But this dude's selling a Jahan Dotson signed um, Washington Commanders jersey that I really am really tempted to go buy. But he's selling it for like $150. And I'm like, dude, I bet you I could buy one on pristine auction for like 50 or 60 right now. 100% less than $150. So we might see a Jahan Dotson jersey go up. You'll get their shot +1. John, you golf like that? A +1? See, here's my issue. All right. It's past 2:00, but I don't care anymore because we're talking about golf. I'll answer Jake's question first. In a hybrid PPR league, half for running back and tight end, standard for wide receiver, assuming CMC, JJ, Eckler, and Chase are off the board, who would you aim for at 5? Cooper Kupp. I would go Cooper Kupp or Tyreek. I would take both Kupp and Tyreek over Eckler as well. Yeah. I would take Cooper Kupp, though. Yes, get the Dotson jersey. I'm not spending $150, but I'm going to look for a Dotson jersey. Anyway, so John, here's my problem. Diagnose me. I can't hit GIRs. GIRs are like, so I love my 56 degree because I've gotten so good with it because I'm trying to go up and down for par and I end up just two putting for bogey. And then if I have like one or two just like horrible holes where I like triple, then that's just the worst. You know, that's what killed. Like I live my score, I live at the 92 range. Like I'm just like 92, 93. I can't get past there. It's so aggravating to me because it's like I do the same thing every single time. And it's so annoying. It's just like one or two holes that I just absolutely like obliterate with a double or a triple. And I just can't do it. I just can't get past 90. It's so annoying. So frustrating. Which I know what I should do. I should probably just go to the range and practice more because I don't ever do that. I just kind of show up to the golf course and I'm just like, yep, I'm going to shoot better today. Then I don't. I shoot 92 and that's it. So I'll get there. I thought it was going to be this summer. Maybe I'll still get there this summer, but next summer. Work on chipping. I'm actually a really good chipper. I'm the best chipper out of my entire group, which probably doesn't mean much because they're all terrible, but I've like taught others in my friend group how to chip around the green and out of sand traps because I'm really good out of sand traps as well too. But that's what I mean though. Like I've gotten really good at it because it's become necessary for me to save scores. Like I have to get up and down from, 10, 15 yards and in around the green in order for me to even get par. So like it's honestly, it's my irons. It's everything from I'd say probably about 50 yards to 120 is probably what screws me. So that's really where I need work. Because I feel like I should be hitting greens. Like if I'm 80 yards in, I should be hitting a green. I shouldn't be, right or left or anything like that. Not saying I'm like 10 yards off on right or left, but I'm just like, I'm just not there. And it's annoying. It's frustrating, but we'll get there. We'll get there. That's it though. Add a comment. 205, 2-hour stream. You guys are beasts. Sticking with me for this entire time. I love it. So update / announcement. I think this is the plan moving forward with Fridays with Addison is we are going to be streaming this also on the 4for4 channel. And I will be having John Paulson with me as well. So, which if you don't know, John Paulson, one of the most accurate rankers ever in fantasy football, is absolutely amazing. So that is, I believe, the plan starting next Friday. 10-time top 10 accuracy from 2010 to 2021. 8-time top 5 accuracy in that same span. 2-time Fantasy Pros most accurate expert. That is John Paulson. So he will be on this as well all season long. And answer, because in season we're gonna need start sit questions, right? So John's gonna help with start sit questions. I covered the dynasty aspect of things, so that should be fun. But I think that's starting next week. If not, definitely the Friday before week 1, which I guess will be the Friday after the Chiefs Lions game. But yeah, Trader Mondre and Wandale for Evans, 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Yeah, I mean 2 firsts. That's fantastic. That's a big win for sure. Breezy, 1 quarterback, 10 teams start 10, heavily competing, have Lamar at quarterback, trade away Pitts in a mid-second for Andrews in a third. I don't mind it. I feel like that's a pretty lateral move. Pitts, of course, has the dynasty aura of what Kyle Pitts could be. But Mark Andrews is going to score a ton of points. And if you already have Lamar for that stack, it's going to be fantastic. So I really like that trade as well, too. But yeah, that's what we're going to call it. So next week, I think I'll have John Paulson. We'll see, I guess, when we get to that point. But appreciate you guys sticking around for 2 hours that this stream has been going on. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully the preseason games are nice to you guys and your fantasy rosters. Don't get injured, all that other kind of stuff. But appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. And we'll see y'all next week. Later.